Frogs and Toads, written by Kira Freed. Frogs and Toads. I found a frog. Have you ever seen an unusual animal in nature? Did you want to learn more about it? Last week I saw a really neat frog, and that was the start of a wonderful adventure. What does a frog say when it sees something great? Totally awesome. I looked for the frog in a book called A Field Guide. I started looking through the pictures, and in the book, I was amazed to see all the different kinds of frogs and toads. It turns out I saw a wood frog. Do you know, there are almost 5,000 kinds of frogs and toads. The biggest one is as big as a dinner plate. One of the smallest is the Brazilian gold frog. Its real size is shown here. That is a small frog. The Goliath frog is the largest frog in the world. That's a big frog. I wanted to know more, so I went to the internet. Did you know that frogs and toads are relatives of newts and salamanders? They're all amphibians, which means they live part of their life in water and part on land. Amphibians are cold-blooded animals. They don't make their own body heat, they get warmth from the heat of the sun. I wonder if that's why you sometimes see them on lily pads. Life cycle. I also learned that most frogs and toads lay jelly-covered eggs in water. The babies that hatch are called tadpoles and look like little fish. Tadpoles breathe with gills just like fish, and they live in water, but it's amazing what happens as they grow. Their gills disappear, and they grow lungs so they can breathe air like other land animals. They grow legs and then arms. Later, their tail shrinks. By the time their tail is gone, they move on to land. I saw some very cool photos of the life cycle of frogs and toads. So this is the life cycle of frogs. Here they are as eggs. And they're tadpoles, a metamorph, and then a frog. About frogs. Frogs are famous for their ability to leap with their long, strong back legs. They leap to catch insects and other prey. A frog can catch an insect in an instant with its long, sticky tongue. Why are frogs so good at baseball? Because they catch a lot of flies. The eyes and nostrils of a frog are on the top of its head. Frogs can see, smell, and breathe while they're mostly underwater. In fact, they breathe through their skin while they're underwater. That's interesting. Frogs can make an amazing amount of noise. Male frogs sing loudly to attract a mate. Do you know male frogs use throat pouches to sing? Some male frogs have one throat pouch, others have two. What has more lives than a cat? A frog. It croaks every night. Do you know the difference between frogs and toads? Here's what I learned from a book at the library. So, frogs, they have smooth or slimy skin. They live in wet places. They have long, strong back legs, webbed feet, and they lay eggs in groups. Toads, on the other hand, have dry, bumpy skin. They live in dry places. They have shorter back legs, no webbing on feet, lay eggs in long chains. So I'm thinking if you've ever found something that looks like this in your backyard, it was probably a toad. Unless you live by a lake or a creek, then it was probably a frog. Defense. I was sad to learn that frogs and toads are food for many other animals. Bats, snakes, birds, and rodents all hunt them. But frogs and toads have clever ways to stay safe from animals that might try to eat them. What happens when frogs park illegally? They get towed away. Some frogs and toads, like the wood frog I saw, are the same color as their habitat. This is called blending in. It allows them to hide better from predators. Some kinds of frogs are so poisonous that just touching their skin is deadly. These frogs are brightly colored to warn predators to stay away. Do you know one golden poison frog contains enough poison to kill 10 people or 20,000 mice? This frog is one of the most poisonous animals on Earth. The golden poison frog lives in the South American rainforest. Whew, I'm glad they don't live around here. Some frogs try to trick predators that might want to eat them. The tomato frog puffs up like a balloon when a snake gets near. The snake thinks the frog is too big to eat. If the snake tries to eat it anyway, the frog leaks a liquid like glue from its skin. Looking at that frog, I think I know why they call it a tomato frog. Kind of looks a little bit like a tomato. Frogs are cool. Frogs and toads come in many shapes, sizes, and colors. You can find them in trees, in or near water, and on the ground. One thing is true about all of them. They're amazing animals. What kinds of frogs have you seen? Why are frogs so happy? They eat whatever bugs them. Tree frogs have sticky pads on their fingers and toes to help them grip. Some of the words in this story that we can find here in the glossary: ability, which means a skill or talent; field guide, a book that helps people identify living things in nature; habitat, the environment in which an animal lives; predators, animals that hunt and eat other animals; prey, animals that are food for predators; rodents, mice, and their cousins.